Hello everyone, this is Jonathan Kiley with FlySkins.com. What I'm going to be demonstrating today is how to tie a crab pattern with my new products, Kiley's crab skins, Kiley's crab bits. I'm going to be doing brown today. And I'm also going to be using UV clear fly finish thick and some UV clear fly finish thin. And I'm also going to be showing this demo with the UV Loon chocolate color to match the legs. This demonstration, I'm actually going to be using the 1/0 size for the crab skins and bits. It's just a little bit cooler way to show off what it actually looks like on a larger size. It looks the same on the smaller. They come in size 1/0, 1 and 2, and then depending on the hook size that you use or the hook type, the hook size kind of varies, so you got to find one that complements the hooks that you like to use. I'm using a saltwater hook here. If you would like to tie a crab pattern with a larger body and smaller legs, then all you got to do is downsize the crab bits themselves and simply stretch them when you tie them on. It's that easy. Alright, so we have a size 1 hook here. I'm also going to be utilizing the lead 0.25 to weight this hook, make sure it turns upside down, some mono thread. I'm going to go ahead and tie in my mono thread, little jam knot up front, work my way back. And then I'm going to take my 0.25 lead, put on how much weight I'd like. Make sure when you tie this in you leave a little space for the tie-in tab on the back and the front. Okay. And one thing I also like to do is take this mono thread and I like to work it back and forth over the lead. It helps hold it in place. And since I'm using mono thread, when I use the UV Loon stuff, all that light will pass through and cure where it needs to cure. Okay. So the first thing I want to do is I want to take my crab skins and I want to pluck out the center here, because that's going to help the Loon UV clear finish to soak into this stuff and help it all bond together. Also, you'll notice that there's some little holes, and that's for whenever you're utilizing chenille legs. So pluck that center out. I'm using an X-Acto knife. And then I'm going to simply face it here, make sure my tab lines up with the back, tie in on the tie-in tab, go underneath it, and tie in the back. You can also shift it and move it slightly once you get it into place. Make sure it's perpendicular with the hook. Alright, so now that that's done, I'm going to go ahead and whip finish this part onto the back. Now if you like to tie weed guards in, I would suggest you do that after you do the body, or you can leave it, or if you want to, you can do it on right now, and then that way you can put a little bit of the UV epoxy on there and get it on the threads. The next step is to put in the mono eyes. I'm going to use red for this one. I like to leave a 1/4 inch of the monofilament on the back side to help secure it to this. This is the sticky side up right now. So all you have to do is lay it on there in between these 2 notches, press it on there, and it sticks. Other side, same thing. Put it on there, just push on both sides, and it'll stay put. One thing I like to do also is make sure I take some of this clear UV, the flow stuff, and I'm just going to put it a little bit on these mono tabs and then cure it, just so I don't accidentally bump them off. Since the skin is clear, that also helps in the curing process. So what I can do now, I can simply turn it over, make sure I get anything that seeped underneath. Alright, so then the next step is to take the UV fly finish. I'm going to use the thick, and I'm going to pour it into my mixing cup. pour enough in there to do one or several crabs. And that's the cool part about this. You can tie these really quick, mix up enough finish, and you can bust out a dozen in a matter of no time. Now the crab skins come with enough skins to do 12 crab bodies, and the crab bits actually come with enough to do 6. Mix in the powder. You only need a little bit to get the color. I'm going to take my toothpick here and I'm going to move it around the body. Surface tension will keep it where it needs to be for the most part, unless you put a whole bunch on there, and then you could have some issues with it. But you don't need that much to tie this. Alright, and then I'm going to cure it with my UV light. Make sure you cure it a little longer, especially when you're using the powders. I'm going to flip it over. And I've done this thin enough where it's kind of transparent brown. But I like that. So it'll be alright. Okay, and then I want to build up the center of this crab body just a little bit and give it a hump. You can let it sit like that for a second, upside down, build up that hump, cure it again. And then you can start to see the profile build up. If you want, you can continue to build it. The cool part about the thick is that you can kind of keep it centrally located where you put it on, and it blends in really good with the rest of it. And the one bottle of this thick actually goes a long way, so you can tie quite a bit of flies with that. I'll flip it up, let it kind of droop a little bit, hit it with the light again, if you notice it's starting to build up there, that's kind of about where I want it. If you notice, it's quite durable there with the skin. And hit it up again. It should be good to go. Okay, so then the final step is I want to take my crab bits, size 1/0. Like I said, you can move up and down a couple sizes depending on how big of the legs you'd like them to be. I'm going to take my mono thread and I'm going to get in front of this real quick. A little jam knot. Trim off the excess. I'm going to tie in my claws where I want them, positioned on the body. And then I'm going to, you can stretch this, tie up, tie back, and then when I fold this back, I want to make sure it lines up where I want. If it's too long or too short doesn't really matter. Too long, then all you have to do, you can either tie it up further or you can fold it back, tie a little more in, and then go back again towards the front, and then once you figure that out, all you got to do is tie this in where you want it, do a whip finish up front, I always use my hands. It's pretty much probably impossible to do this with a whip finish tool, so it's really good to do with your hands. Once you figured out how to do it with your hands, you'll actually be more efficient in tying flies a lot faster. Also, when you're done whip finishing the front, if you want, you could even tie in some, or actually I'm sorry, put in some more UV flow on the front to lock those threads in, give a little more durability. Trim off that excess. Start my jam knot in the back real quick. Fold this over. Use the tie-in tab. Tie it in place. And then I can whip finish and be done. And like I said, you can also put the UV flow on this again. You can tie in your weed guard if you'd like. I'm going to take a little bit of the flow. I'm going to put it on here. This stuff, if you put a little up top, it'll work its way around the whole side there. Okay. And there you have it. The finished crab. Only took a few minutes. Like I said, if you did a batch, did a bunch of hooks, prepped everything, you could bust a bunch of these out in a matter of no time. And you can do them in just about any color now, because Loon, they have multiple colors, but you can mix it just like paint. And then utilize the crab skins and crab bits. And then you've got a realistic fly looking on top and the bottom.